you utter swine. Hi. I'm just going to put a little bit in here of, I was just about to start vlogging and it started to rain and we had 2 lines full of washing, which hubby had very kindly put out, except he uses these pegs to put the things on the line that, like, you've got to get, you know, you need like pliers to get them off the line. Well, with my stupid hands, I just can't. So I just have to like rip things off the line and go. Anyway, my slippers are soaking, so I've put them in the dryer with a few bits of washing that I managed to save that weren't too bad. But the sun's out now and it's stopped raining, so I got wet for nothing. I might as well have just left them. Anywho, back on with the vlog. So we have completed the first phase. So I'm making view B of this blouse here, which is a Butterick pattern, even though it has thread count patterns written on the front. So it's Butterick 6770, and I've done the first step, which is to face all the facing pieces. So I've done that, and I used Visaline H180 interfacing, where you just buy it in a sheet and you cut it to size. So I've done that. So we're there is only 1 sheet of instructions. It's quite worrying. Maybe you just need 1 sheet of instructions. Let's just we'll just see. Gather armhole edges. That doesn't look like my armhole. I don't even know what view that is. View 2. Top A, B and C. Interfuse, fuse, yes. Interface. And then number 2. Gather armhole edges of front. Oh, a front. I was looking at that thinking, gather armhole edges. That doesn't look like an armhole. Right. So, where's my armhole front? There are 2 sleeves, and that's my interface. I've also practiced on my overlocker and just overlocked a little bit of practice material. There we go. And this one is my front. There we go. So yeah, there are many pieces to this this pattern, which is good because I do get them confused. I'm just looking at this. I don't think. Well, there's a good start. I've just spotted a notch I haven't cut. Oh dear me. There we are. I did the dots. I've done those notches. I've probably cut an extra notch in there now. Never mind. Stick those over there. So yeah, this pattern just says gather. Just gather. No guidelines. No gather for all tops. Gather for all views. It just says gather. Great. Okay, so there we are. There's my front. And does it say gather between the dots? Dot to dot. So yeah, so that's where I put my, can you see those dots there? That's where I put my oh good grief, leather punch through the pattern, not the material obviously, and then put my heat erasable pen. So I have to go around the curve and gather between those dots. 2 rows of big stitches and gather them in. This is where I don't like it when it says gather, because it just says gather. It doesn't say what's it going to to match with. At least when I did that green blouse, excuse me, wiping my nose. At least when I did that green blouse, you gathered it and you knew what you were matching it to. So you pulled the gathers, spaced them out and got it to match the bit of material. So we'll do that. We'll just gather it. We'll do the gathering stitches and I'm sure it'll become like available. No, that's not the right word. Lord, you can tell I'm tired, can't you? I didn't have a good night's sleep last night, so yeah. It's all a bit, it's going to be very ad-lib, this sew along. Alright, so we want it on 5 for a gathering stitch, because that's as high as my machine goes for stitch length. And it doesn't tell you what distance to do it, but seam allowance is, now I do remember seam allowance I think is a centimetre. Seam allowance. No, doesn't tell you that either. Come on, I'm sure I've seen, oh there it is, 1.5 centimetres, right. So as long as I stay within 1.5 centimetres, do 2 lines of stitching, then I'm alright. So what we'll do first is we'll take it, we'll take it to there, and then the next one we'll take it to there. Right. I'll take the speed down, because we know I don't sew fast. Right, here goes. Leave a long tail at that end, because of course I've just put my bobbin in and there's no tail at that end, there's only one tail, so we might have to we'll do another line anyway. It says do 2 lines. Don't normally bother doing 2 lines because I don't see why you need 2 lines. You know, you just pull, anyway. That's me. Don't do things I don't think you need to bother with and then I find out, oh, you do really. So, yeah, second line. See, that's too fast for me. Not as slow as that though. God, that's all over the place. Good job you can't see this up close. Because it's horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous. Right. It's been a beautiful day here today. Apart from that bit of rain we just had, that's some little downpour. And I'm wearing my Hurrah top. It's been one of those days where it's been colder in the house than it has outside. It's beautiful outside. I still sat out at lunchtime and had a cup of coffee with hubby in the garden, and I kept this on because, you know, I am a cold bod, but you just feel on days like today, summer's finally on its way. Right, so we'll gather. And we'll gather the other end. Right, okay, so I have gathered the tops of the armholes on each side, but it's a raglan top, so it's this bit I think I've gathered, and I've ended up pulling out the first gathers that I did. So there's the first Carenism. I've pulled them out because they were rubbish and I was sewing far too fast for me, so the stitches weren't even, and yeah, so I've regathered them because the second one just gathered so much nicer because I made a better job of it, basically. Probably because I wasn't filming. So yeah, I think I've made a better job of that than I had originally. So we shall see, we shall see. And then we do some more gathering. We now have to go to the back piece and we have to gather the top, the back of the neck, I think that is. The upper edge of back between the circles. So same thing again. And I should say as well, before, when I threaded my sewing machine in my overlocker, I also, when I start a project, especially if it's a big project, I always fill 2 spools. So if I'm making a dress or something like that, I fill 2 spools, and sometimes I use more than 2 spools because of all the pulling out I do. But I filled 1 spool, and I had just over half a spool already from another project, just left over. So I've just used that, and then I've filled 1 spool, and I think that should be enough for this blouse. I don't think, unless I pull quite a bit out, unless I unpick quite a bit, I don't think that, yeah, I don't think I'll need more than that. But just top tip there, always fill your spools first. You know how some people don't like threading their overlockers, and I don't mind that, and I don't mind tracing out patterns. I don't like filling spools, especially mid-project, especially when you've, yeah, you know, you're getting into a project, you're really going, and then you've got to play, what is it, Adele from Sofa Serenity calls it, bobbin chicken, where, bobbin chicken, you know, you're thinking, have I got enough on that bobbin to last me this seam? And you keep looking to see if you have or you haven't. And I've literally gone down to a bit of thread about that long wrapped around the bobbin. That was definitely a game I definitely won of bobbin chicken. But yeah. So we'll undo all of these, and we will gather between the notches at the back. I'm going to put a bit of footage in here as well of it actually looks much nicer today, the garden. Well, not now that the pegs are scattered all over it. But yesterday the wind was so ferocious, and it was blowing the blossom off the blossom tree that we've got in the back garden, and there was a great big massive chunk of it fell off the tree. It just looked like a whole branch had broken off at one point. But yeah, so the dogs, every time the dogs go out, they bring at least 2,000 of these things back in. They're all over the floor. I'm not even going to sweep them up because it'll be like that the next time they go out into the garden. So there you go. So, right, I will now gather between these 2 dots on the back. There we go. And I wish I knew which bit. I'm going to have to read the instructions, I think. I'll go ahead on the instructions and see which bit I'm going to match this to. Because if I pull the gathers in too tight, I know I can let them out again. But if I pull them in too tight, straight away I'm not going to have edges that meet, and it's just going to be odd. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the pattern, see which bit I've got to match it with, and I'll come back to you. Right, welcome back. So I figured out that you had to attach, strangely enough, the back to the back yoke. So I've done that and put the gathers in, made sure that the ends met so that the gathers and the material were the same size as the yoke, and I've then overlocked it just to give it a neater finish. I know double gauze doesn't fray, but I just like the look of that better than just raw material basically. So I've overlocked it and I've pressed it up like it says, and this is the interfaced yoke bit. So that goes there for the minute, and then I've tried to figure out what bit of the sleeve goes with the sides that I gathered, and I'll just cut it at the minute. I think that's this is the back piece, so this should have two notches to signify the back piece, and it doesn't. Now that's probably me, more than likely me. So that has one piece, that has two notches, I mean one piece, two notches, and the sleeve goes together like that. So if that is your back, then that is your right sleeve, and we assume that's right side up, so that would be this sleeve, so therefore it's that bit that would go along there, in which case that's really, compared to that, that's really, really long, and that's hardly any gathers at all, which is originally what I thought. And if I do that with the other sleeve, get the sleeves, because they're slightly different in the way they're cut. So I'll match that sleeve up to that one, and then assume that that's got the two, so that's the piece that goes against this bit. It's quite lucky that this material is the same on both sides, because I wouldn't have a hope if I was doing a material that wasn't right. So that is the right side, because the notches more or less match, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, they match. So the notches match, and then come all the way up. Yeah, so that's about right. So you're not really talking too many gathers. It's very, very just gathered. You're probably not even going to notice it, I don't think, till you come to iron it, obviously. Right, so that's where the sleeves match in, that's where that matches in, that's a sleeve, that's a sleeve, that's out of the way, that's the back yoke done, and now we have to stitch the front to the back at the sides. That's quite easy, I quite like that, I know what I'm doing with that. I've just got to figure out which side I want as my right side on my back. We'll just go with that one. If I'm doing anything wrong here and there's any experienced sewers watching, you're probably screaming at the screen, no, no, you've got to make sure, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that's going to match the sleeve though. That's not going to match that notch. Right, okay, okay. So So that has to match down there like that. And I am quite impressed with myself. I really, really am. Because look, can you see? Two matches, two matches, two notches matching. So we pin that back down there and get that sewn together. And we'll do the other side and sew both sides, and then that's that bit done. Hello, back again. Right, I'm up to yeah, I stitched down the sides like it says there. You might notice a change in the nails. I had a nail-based domestic emergency last night. My thumbnail fell off. So I've had to go and get my nails done today because you didn't want to see that. It was awful. Anyway, so I'm up to here. Stitched down the sides. No, I'm up to here. I've stitched down the sides. So the back and front's together. I've got the bit of interfacing on the back of the neck. The back collar. Well, the interfacing on the where the collar would be if there was one. So view A, we're not doing view A, we're doing view B. So now it says, what does it say? Reinforce lower edge. Got me specs. That would help, you know, that really would. Well, if they were clean. Reinforce lower edge of sleeve through large circles. Clip to large circles. Right, so yeah. So it's showing you that. And it's the clipping to the large circles I'm quite worried about, to be fair. That's where I tend to clip through the thread as well. So, yeah. So, I've got my little dots. Don't know if you can see them. That's my large circles. And I'm going to sew between the two notches to reinforce and then clip to those large circles. So I'm just going to do like a normal stitch on my sewing machine, and I'm just going to take it probably about halfway where the seam would be. I'm just going to have a check to see if you fold it up. Yeah, you actually fold it up to where you reinforce it to. And then, yeah, so I better do it a little bit. I'm going to do it a little bit wider. Yeah, I'm going to do it through the circles because you have to fold it up and then you have to do the double stitching to reinforce. Yeah, to the double stitching to reinforce. God, I talk rubbish. You have to do the line of double stitching to then gather the sleeve again, but you do that all the way around. And it looks like here you do it once you've folded the little bit that you've reinforced up, you do the gathering stitches all the way around the sleeve and back to where you finished the other reinforcement stitches. So yeah, I think I'll you know what, that's very misleading. You see here, it has the reinforcement stitches go past to where the notches are. So I said I was going to do between the two notches. I was going to do the reinforcement stitches there. Because it looks like you fold that whole bit up. But how? Oh, right. Shut up, Karen. It's just dawned on me. See, this is the way I read patterns. Right, so yeah, you do it between the two notches, but you clip, and then it's this little bit that you fold up. We'll get there eventually, you see. This is why I'm doing a sew along. You're probably all shouting at the screen. No, you're doing it wrong. Right, okay, looking for a foot pedal that I don't have. That's great, Karen, yeah. And we're just going to go through the two dots. I'm going to just take it and we'll take it down to there. I'm actually just going to put a little line here so that I know where I'm sewing to. No, you've just done that now. That's far too fast. Does anybody else think the weather's weird? I was sitting in the garden this afternoon. It is now absolutely black out there, and it just looks like we're going to get rain of biblical proportions. But I've taken the dogs out, so fortunately don't have any of that to do. Hubby is now messing around in the garage, so we can expect an entrance from him at some point, I think. He was going to go down his nan's, but... Right, so there we are. So I have, I don't know if you see the stitches, but I've stitched between the two notches. I've gone through the thing. Now I'm going to clip to these dots. Oh, it's a rather big pair of scissors, but hey ho. So no, the dot, Karen, the dot. Right. There we are. So that's that side. And then I think you fold it up, or you fold it up the other way, depending on which side I'm going to take as my right side and which side I'm going to take as my wrong side, because I haven't. So right side fabric was on this one. You know, I put my little sticker. So this was cut that way, is taken, this is the right side fabric. So if that's the right side, then I'm then going to fold that under there like that. All right. Okay, so that's that one done. Let's do this one. And there's me two dots, there's me two notches. I'll just mark again, just so that I can see where I need to stop. And I'm going through the dots. Well, that, I don't know if you heard that big bang, but oh no, that was the garage door shutting. So we'll assume he's now gone to his mum's, or he's coming in because it's too wet. There we go. The dogs have been out, so that's the main thing. Oh, what a fright.
Blew that over the wall.
I'm filming. So we clip to the dots again. And clip to that. And that's that bit done. So that's quite good. Happy with that. It then says, gather the lower edge of the sleeve, leaving the space between the large circles open. Well, you're going to have to leave it open because you're supposed to whip stitch the ends. I'm going to have to look and see what a whip stitch is. I don't know what a whip stitch is. I think you just catch it. I think that's what it is. You're just catching it. So I'll have to investigate what that is. And I'll do my 2 rows of gathering stitches around both sleeves and I will be back. Okie dokie. So, let's see if I can just tilt you up a little bit more. Right. So, I have found out what whip stitch was. Whip stitch is basically what I do when somebody says ladder stitch something and I look at ladder stitch and I think, far too complicated, I'll just sew it. So it should really be called the caring stitch because I do it on most things. And it's literally you just go over and over. So I'm sure we used to call it overstitch or something. I'm wondering if whip stitch is because it's American. Is Butterick American? I'm just wondering if it's an American thing. However, another example of these patterns. Sorry, I'm looking like this. Example is it's finish. Optional for hems: gather, narrow hem, reinforce, slip stitch, stay stitch, top stitch, under stitch. Not a single whip stitch. Doesn't tell you what it is. This is what annoys me. And also with things like that, when you've got to whip stitch it, I wish it would say whether it's got to stay in place when you finish the blouse, or if it's going to be enclosed in a hem so you're not going to see it. You know, Tilly in the Buttons patterns always says stay stitch. The stitching will remain in place, as does the edge to stitch patterns. This stitching will remain in place. It is just to reinforce that area of the fabric, and it will remain in place for the duration. And it even says when it's not going to show it on the pattern, like the little diagrams, it says it won't be shown on the pattern in future, or it will be shown in the pattern in future, just so that you don't get confused with what you're sewing. So yeah, no wonder there's just one sheet of instructions for this, because right. So yeah, I have figured out which sleeve was left and which sleeve was left and which sleeve was right, and I've done my 2 lines of gathering stitches. Don't know if you can just see that 2 lines of gathering stitches there, and I've turned up the little thing where you clip to the dots at the end of the sleeve, and there's my whip stitches, if you can see those. Is it going to focus? Sort of. You don't really want to see them. They're quite crude and rubbish. So I'm on to doing the ties. It's on to the ties next, which is a good thing. I haven't actually, as you can see, gathered the sleeves yet, because I want to see the size of the band. I mean, I know the size of the band now, but when I turn it inside out and I've hemmed it and everything and put it together, how much of that band is going to have to take a bit of gathered sleeve, and how much is going to be hanging as a bit of the tie. So that's what I'm going to work out next. Also, hubby wants to be in to make his tea, so I'm probably going to finish there for tonight. Go and put the heating on, roll me neck up on me top, because it's getting a bit chilly. I mean, it's May, for goodness sake. Anyway, and I'll probably see you in the morning, I would think. Hi. So I was jumping on to doing the ties around the sleeves. They still look massive to me. But I suppose you've got to tie a knot in them, but I can see me stitching them in half or something, or taking a bit off them. Anyway, I had a fantastic amount of bother with them, because when I sewed the first one, and I noticed that on one side my stitches looked okay, and on the other side my stitches, every now and again there was a big loop, and I think it was like the bobbin stitches, but obviously I've got white in the top and white in the bottom, and I pulled it out to have a look and I didn't know which side was which. So yeah, that was a bit annoying. So I went on and I had a look at Tilly in the Buttons, and she did like points to sewing double gauze. She actually also said double gauze phrase, and since I heard her say that, this has started fraying. Not very much, mine. Not as much as some of the viscoses I've had in the past, but yeah, so that was a bit annoying. So I've done everything she said. I've changed the needle, because to be honest, I think that needle's been on since I sewed those curtains about 4 weeks ago. So might be a little bit blunt, that might be why. I took the bobbin out and put the bobbin back in, just in case I was half asleep and put it in the wrong way, and that was causing it. Changed my needle, and I've put my walking foot on. So I've done everything that Tilly suggested to make it easier, because yeah, it was rushing up. It was almost like I'd done a gathering stitch, because I could pull the gathers out one way, but obviously when you got back to where you'd back tacked to secure it, you couldn't go any further, so it was going to be either pull a little bit out and re-stitch it, and I just thought, oh, it's going to be easier to pull the whole lot out. However, like I say, it wasn't, because they were both white and they were obviously a good match for this white, so it did take a little bit of trouble. But when I sewed it the second time, I obviously followed my line of stitching from the first time, so that was great. But what I did do the first time as well was at the ends here, was just with a heat erasable pen, I just drew on where, you know, I did it with my old-fashioned little hemming gauge thing, if I can pick it up, my nails will allow. So I just, you know, I just went round and marked the 1.5 centimeters all the way around, just the ends, because I can do it with my seam gauge on my machine, or my foot. Actually, now I've got the walking foot on. So I did that so that this one I can follow the red lines when I get to the end, because I obviously haven't stitched this before, and it seems to be okay now. What I did end up doing though is, I know nobody sees the inside of these, but just because I was a bit concerned about whether the stitching was actually doing it properly and I wasn't getting little loops that might come unravelled in the future, I did overlock the inside of that edge as well. So what you do was the 2 large circles, which were there, and then right in the middle where you can see I've got that pin was a little square. So one of the sides, you turn it in and press it 1.5 centimeters in, and that's what I'm going to do with the other one now, and then I'll come back to you. Hi. This is about 4 days later. I just haven't had a chance to do any more of this sewing. The only little bit of sewing I managed to get done yesterday was sewing the band onto the sleeves. Again, these patterns just drive me nuts. The drawings look nothing like what you're doing. They're just rubbish. They're just rubbish. And I'm sure this one, does this one say it's easy? Yeah, I can't really see. I can't really see. Where's my specs? Let's have a look. Fabric. Designed. No, it doesn't say. To be fair, it doesn't say easy. But, you know, looking at those tops, well, that one especially, you think it's a basic top. It's like, you know, front and back, 2 sleeves, and then mine's got twiddly bits on the end. I think I've picked the most difficult one out of the 3 designs, to be fair. But it's just, ooh, honestly, can they not just explain themselves a bit better? It says here, right, somebody can tell me if I'm just picking fault here, right? Pin sleeve band 5, sections together, matching the markings, stitch lower and upper edges as far as the circles. Well, yes, you stitch lower and upper edges, but you stitch all the way around the sleeve band. I mean, the diagram shows you that. Why don't you just say that in the text? Just sew all the way around from one large circle. Oh God, here we go. From one large circle to the other large circle. You're not sewing the lower and upper edges. You're sewing all the way around the thing and then turning it inside out. Oh. And then it says for facing, press under 1.5 centimeters on raw edge of one sleeve band section. Well, I honestly don't know why you do that. It's made absolutely, I've done it, but it's made no difference whatsoever to what I've done next, whether that was pressed under or not. In fact, I think it'd be better if it wasn't pressed under, because you could decide which edge was going to go against the sleeve. You're limiting yourself by pressing that band under to putting your band a certain way. I mean, it won't matter because you've just pressed it, but. And then number 12 is a doozy. Turn band right side out, press, okay. On outside, pin band to lower edge of sleeve, matching large circles, placing square at underarm seam. Adjust gathers, based stitch, keeping pressed edge of band facing free. Trim. I mean, and that bears absolutely no resemblance to what I've done. What it should say is turn band right side out. Yeah, we've done that. Ta-da-da. On the outside, what it should say is turn the sleeve the right way round and then put, there's me band. So what'll happen is it'll come like that and that'll go underneath and that'll be the band on the bottom of the sleeve. But it doesn't say which side to match to what. It tells you to match, the square was sort of like halfway around the band. So the square was here and you match that to your underarm seam, which is there. Okay, so the gap where you've turned that little bit over and sort of tacked it down in the middle, that's the bit where your ties fasten on the top. So you've given yourself a little bit of a hem here and then you've got the gap. So the ties actually match, yeah, the rest of the sleeve, which you've then gathered. So although I'm really naughty and I don't normally baste things, I thought this time I am going to, because I want to make sure I catch all my gathers and I don't end up having a hole where the you know, when I turn it out the right way, I don't want a hole where the gathers meet the band, sort of thing. But it's not explained properly, and I'm sorry, it looks nothing like that picture. Nothing at all. And to work that out, I like to think I know what I'm doing, sewing, sort of. I get this false confidence and I think, well, yeah, I've made this and I've made that and I can sort of do it. But adjust gathers, based stitch. I mean, no, it's not as easy as that. And I literally, to figure that out, I had to pin, well, I didn't pin, I used me, where are these clippy things, because I didn't want to put holes and like more holes in my sleeve in case I just ended with like a broidery on glaze effect on the sleeve. I clipped it together. I used the clips and I clipped it together, and then I've basted, and I've basted in a bright pink so that you could see that, and also so that I could see it, because when I basted something on that bloody green blouse, I couldn't see my basting stitches to pull them out. So yeah. So I'm up to here. And also, I don't know why you can't do this on the flat. I know you've got to have your seam, but there must be an easier way to do it, because the way they suggest doing it, I think they want you to pin the band inside, like inside of here. So you have it that way and you're pinning it in. Oh, that was just too difficult, because you've still got your flipping threads hanging from going round and gathering the sleeve. And then you had, you know, you've got all your markings and everything. Oh, just, yeah. Right. I'll stop moaning now and I'll tell you what I'm up to. So I've done this with both sleeves. I've got my band on, and that's where it ties. So that's going to be, what sleeve's that going to be? That is going to be my right sleeve. So it'll go sort of like that, and the ties will be here. But like I say, I pinned the band to the sleeve, inside, outside, I did it about 6 times before I figured it out. So yeah, not the easiest, but then I suppose all I've got to do now, well, I'm saying all I've got to do, well, it depends, is sort of me facings round my neck and then hem the bottom of the blouse, hopefully. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch that very carefully, and we'll see what it looks like. I don't know whether, I think I'll take it quite far down because I don't want this little raggy edge. So there's your band coming out. Well, I don't want this little bit of raggy stuff where it's, I might fold that over maybe like that, because your other bit of the band is going to come over the top of that and sort of hide it in. But if you just stitch it like that, there's a chance it might sort of stick out when you fold the other bit over. So yeah, I'm gonna stitch those very, very carefully, very, very slowly, and then I'll come back to you and I'll show you where I'm up to with that. So yeah, this was basically pinning these things to the sleeves. You can hear my dog eating something. Pinning these things to the sleeves has taken most of the last couple of evenings, just sitting trying to puzzle it out on my knee and just sitting trying to figure it out. And then yesterday I was sitting in the sun, and I'd had such a bad night's sleep the night before. I was so tired, I really couldn't be bothered to sew, and I thought I daresn't do any sewing because I'll do something wrong, I'm so tired. So that's all I managed, but I did that when I was sitting in the garden yesterday, which was quite nice to actually get a bit of sewing done that wasn't sitting at a machine. So anything, you know, anyway, I'll do that and I'll come back. Right, so a sleeve. I'm quite pleased with the way that's turned out. I did go and do a second line of stitching on one of them. I don't know which one it was now. Just because you could still see me gathering stitches, and actually I've looked right along where the hem is, and you can't see the gathering stitches now. So the odd one you could see I've pulled out, but there was one place, I'm not going to be able to find it now, am I? There where I pulled the gathering stitches out, you could actually see holes. Don't know if you can make those out. So yeah, I'm really pleased that I didn't use pins, and that I've used my clips, because obviously the clips don't make marks like that. The only thing is with those clips, if they grab onto a little bit of thread from a fray or something, and you don't manage to pull them off quick enough when you're sewing, you can end up in a right old state. But for doing things like that, where you're practicing rather than pinning and pinning and pinning and putting loads of holes in a material like this, they're good for that. So and they're quicker than pins, and the way my fingers are, yeah, I stab myself enough without using pins unnecessarily. So yeah, so I have my two sleeves now. However, I haven't put that raw edge yet. And what I think you do is, I'm gathering from the, you know, skeleton instructions we've got, I think you turn it under like that, and then you slip stitch it, whip stitch it, what do you do? Slip stitch it. But what I did go around and do is, where it said trim, I overlocked. So the two edges inside there, and I think I'll do this as well on my overlocker, just to keep it neater. I just prefer it to be neater, and it is fraying quite a bit. And there was me telling somebody on about double gauze and saying it doesn't fray. And like I say, ever since I watched Tilly in the Buttons on our tips for doing double gauze, she says, oh, it can fray really badly. And then all of a sudden I came back in and my material started fraying. So I'm gonna overlock that, even though it doesn't say to do it in the instructions. But of course, as we know, the big four patterns, like Butterick, or thread counters they're calling themselves today, the big four patterns don't tell you to finish seams and overlock edges and things like that. They assume you know when to do that. Which again is a bit of a bugbear, because if you don't know when to do it, like if you're a beginner sewer, when do you do it? And then you realise that you've overlocked it and you've snipped off one of your notches, or you've sewn over a mark, and then when you've pressed your seam, your heat erasable pen mark has disappeared. The pattern should tell you that. It's basic, but it should tell you. And I'm sure people who are experienced sewers wouldn't mind being told when to do it. They would just skip over that part. But beginners, I think, need to know these things. And yeah, if it's a simple blouse pattern that says sew this versatile pull-on v-neck, you know, if it's a simple front and back and 2 sleeves pattern, surely they should gather that people who are going to sew that up are, oh look, I'm having a rant. Shut up, Karen. Stop whinging. Oh, anywho, right. I just think the Big Four should own up to the fact that they're not very good at explaining themselves, and they should get somebody like me to review their patterns and tell them where they're going wrong. But if anybody's watched Evelyn Wood, oh, what's her channel called? I'll put it in the description below. Evelyn Wood does a vlog on she's an Australian girl. She's really, really lovely. Bless her, she's got breast cancer at the minute. She did a vlog not so long ago. She's got breast cancer. But hi, Evelyn, fellow breast cancer buddy here. She does a vlog that says things the patterns won't tell you, and it's an absolute eye-opener. And you think, yeah, she's right. They don't tell you that. And one of the things is to finish your seams. So yeah, so because I like that look, and it just makes it easier to turn it over if you've got an overlocked edge. It just gives you something to grab a hold of, basically. So I am going to overlock that edge. I'm going to turn it over and slip stitch those things down, and then that is the seam finished. And then it looks like the next thing we're on to is putting the sleeve into the garment, and then I think you must do the collar at the end, unless I've completely skipped a set of instructions. And I'm now ever so slightly panicking, because there is only, oh no, there's the neck edge there. That's all right. There is only one sheet. This is it. This is the instructions for the whole of those 3 blouses, because the other sheet was completely in French or Spanish or something. So that's it for all blouses. So I just looked there and thought I couldn't see. I thought this was I didn't realise it was the neckband it was talking about. I thought it was a continuation of the sleeve. Panic over, because that would have been hilarious. Well, no, it wouldn't. It would have been really annoying if we had lost a page of instructions, or we didn't have the instructions at all. So, right, so I'm going to finish both sleeves, and then I'll come back to you. And I promise that's it. I'm not going to moan anymore about Butterick or Big Four patterns. Maybes. Hello, I'm back. I've had a Karenism. Looks like some sort of bonnet from Little House on the Prairie. I've done my sleeves, and I just thought I'm going to go and finish the underarm seam as best I can. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go around the sleeve. And if I've done it too soon, and you know, I've marked me notches where my double notches, just in case I've gone over with the overlocker, so you can't see the notches anyway now, but I marked them before I stitched them and everything. And then where your ties, well, first of all, that little bit that you folded up, that was just hand stitched down. I haven't done this one yet, but the other one I've stitched down. I'm just going to run a line of stitches along there and hold it in place, because the hand stitching is going to come away. In fact, it already has on that side. I'm going to do a line of stitching because you cannot really see it. I've done it on this one. So there. So I've just stitched that down on that side. And I also, because I thought it was being clever, I thought I'm just going to catch the edges there where the sort of this little flappy bit finishes and you've got your two ties. So I just put it under the sewing machine. I just went backwards and forwards a few stitches. I don't think it'll make any difference to like when you tie the ties. You know, to make them a little bit shorter, it's not going to make any difference. But I was sewing this one, and no, it wasn't that bit I was doing. What was I doing? Was I overlocking? I was overlocking the edge of that little flappy bit, and my tie got caught under the knife of the overlocker. I was just watching so diligently that I didn't get that stuck under the knife of the overlocker or any part of the sleeve. So all I've done, because I'm losing the will to live now with these sleeves, is I've just gone backwards and forwards over it. And I have got enough material left that if it looked so bad, or if I put it in the wash and it fell to bits, I could cut another sleeve and another sleeve band and do it all again. But I don't want to. It's a bit like with that green blouse, when you do so many things wrong, you just think, oh, for goodness sake. So I've just had a right good swear, a very, very good swear. My son will contest to that. However, I do have lovely finished edges on the edge of my my sleeve. So there we have the right sleeve and the left sleeve, and they do still need a bit of a pressing, but the work, the look, I still think that's massive. It's not what I expected. I did expect, unless you're supposed to be able to tie these tighter, I don't know. I still think that's huge for a sleeve, but it's going to be a nice big puffy sleeve anyway, so that's very en vogue at the minute, isn't it? So that's a good thing. But I do have a nice inside seam that's going to be finished all well and good. The next bit that I need to do, I think we said the facing on the neckline, didn't we? All views with right sides together, pin the sleeve to the armhole edge of front and back, matching the symbols, adjust the gathers, based stitch, here we go again, adjust the gathers, based stitch, stitch 6mm away in seam allowance, trim to close stitching. Oh, trim close to stitching. I'm so tired. Trim close to stitching, press seam toward the sleeve, yes. Tack seam allowances if you prefer. Well, I tell you what, Mr. and Mrs. Butterick, whatever you are, instead of trimming close to the stitching, I'm going to overlock it. I'll overlock it together with me already overlocked seams. I'm not trimming close to any stitching because this material is fraying, and yeah, I can't see the rest of today going very well, the mood I'm in at the minute. Press seam toward the sleeve, tack seam allowances if you prefer. Tack seam allowances if you prefer. Pin sleeve to armhole edge, front and back, matching zone, adjust gathers. Gathers? Oh, the gathers. Light bulb moment. Yeah, we did do some gathers, didn't we? Way back when. Yeah. Gathers. I'd forgotten all about these. Getting involved with the sleeves. Okay. Let's have a look at this then. I'll keep this running for so long, and then, you know, you can forward fast if you wish. And if I decide I'm going to have a head scratching moment that lasts about an hour, I'll switch it off and come back to you. Right, let's have a look. So that's the front. We don't have gathers on the back, do we? Oh, we do on the doodah. That's the front, and that's the back. And we've already stitched the gathers down, and we've already got the facing on. That is right. Okay. So go back to see where it says again. So this is inside out, with right sides together, pin sleeve to armhole edge, of front and back. Right, okay. So that is right side, so this is wrong side. So it needs to go, let's see, it needs to go in there. Right sides to right sides. This is where I find out I've got 2 left sleeves or 2 right sleeves. In which case I need to cut another sleeve out anyway, but you can bet you're going to do that with the sleeve that I don't need for that room. Back. So that's the back. Right side to right side. That's the back. That's the back. The inside sleeve. Right, let me get my head around this. That is your back, so that needs to go that way, like that. We're getting there, we're getting there. That needs to go in there like that. Because there is my, what was my double notch. And there is my double notch there for highlighting the back of the sleeve. That goes that way. There was my single notch. I don't know if you can see these marks. The camera's too far away. And there's the single notch there. We'll put them together. Notches never match in my world, but we'll stick them together for now. And then that seam should match that seam. And that should come over there to the back. Let's go to the back. It's not a bad match actually. There might be just a bit to ease out. And then this comes all the way up to here. Oh no, that's not right. Or is it? Does that come all the way to that point? See, it doesn't say that, does it? Of course it doesn't. Pin sleeve to armhole edge, front and back matching symbols, adjust gathers, base stitch, stitch again. Trim close to stitching, press seam toward the sleeve. No, it doesn't even say take it up to the edge of the facing. Although it does have the little sign for the facing there. Where's my little spot? Yeah, so that's your facing, so your stitches do go all the way to the top. We're getting there, we're getting there. You know, didn't promise you Speedy Gonzales sewing. It's called Karen Sew Slowly. It's not called... Karen's incredibly fast and knows what she's doing. I've got a clue. So I'm going to pin all of these, or clip them as I'm doing. And actually, well, that's pretty darn good for me. That sort of matches up to there. In fact, what I might do is I'll just take that little bit out of there and just pull it up, and then it will match at this end. Doesn't matter if my notches don't match, as long as my ends match. Yeah, liking these clips today. Sometimes they're a bit murderous when you just get them and you don't quite grab them enough and they sort of spring out of your finger. Oh, that can hurt. Right, I can pull the gathers in and match it. So there's the end there. Pin the end, clip the end, and then pull the gathers in and take up all that. So there's your gathers. And you can just pull these, ha ha, she said, and just gather as much as you need to get that to match. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put both sleeves in. I'm going to overlock these together rather than stitch them together. I'm just going to overlock them. I've already overlocked this one. It doesn't matter. It'll be secure and it'll have a nice continuous seam. And that's your shoulder piece. So I think we're going to go all the way around the sleeve, and then it says trim, but we won't need to trim because I'm going to use my overlocker. And yeah, everybody who knows what they're doing as far as sewing is concerned is probably now shouting at the screen saying no, don't do that. But yeah, I'll do that and I'll see you on the other side. Hello, back again. Right, I've put the blouse on Vera. It looks huge. Yeah. I'll just show you what I mean. See if you can see it there. I excuse all the rubbish and the mess. But yeah, I mean, it might look better ironed. But yeah, it just looks huge. I'm going to reserve judgment till I put it on because I could be saying it looks huge, and then I'll get it on, it'll be too small. I've also moved my camera down on the tripod a little bit, just so you can actually see what I'm doing. It says to stay stitch the neckline. I don't know if I want to bother, you know. I might get some fusible webbing and I might stick that on. I don't know. We'll have a think. Anywho, right, got both the sleeves in. They went in fine. But you know, I joked about I've probably cut 2 left sleeves or I've cut 2 right sleeves. Well, I hadn't, but I did think I had because I had one of the sleeves inside out when it should have been the right way around, and like inside, so right side to right side, so it should have been sort of like this sleeve in on itself. Flash me bra. So yeah, so I had it the wrong way around and I couldn't get it to match me double notch with me double notch, and me single with me single. So I did have a momentary panic. In fact, I had quite a bit of a panic because I thought, oh, I don't believe it. And I thought, watch the one that I've cut the wrong way around, the one I've already put on. Sure enough, the one I'd already put on was the one with like the little cut that I'd made with me serger. Oh God, there I go again, serger. Overlocker. Anyway, I figured it out that I was just being a doofus and that I had it the wrong way around. So I turned it the right way around and it went in absolutely no bother at all. But I did decide just to put it on Vera to see what it looked like, and yeah, it looks vast, but like I say, we shall see. So the next bit we're on to is to do the neck facing and back facing. And what I was calling the facing before is actually the back yoke, and I really wouldn't have bothered with a yoke. I don't know why it didn't just go all the way up to the neck, because it's the smallest yoke I've ever seen in my entire life. Let me just get it off Vera. 1 second, I'll scoot round the back of you. She wasn't going to give it up there. So that's your yoke. I just can't see the point in that. Why didn't it just sort of do this business into the back of the neckline? I'm sure there is a reason for it, and I'm sure it'll look beautiful. But to me, that's not a yoke, that's just a bit of a band. It's, yeah, I mean, it's tiny. Anyway, it's done, it's in, and like I say, they do want you to stay stitch all the way around. Do you know, it might be easier to do that than faff about with the stay tape. So I might just quickly run that through my sewing machine. So that comes first. I'm supposed to do that first, but me being me, I'm not going to do it that way. Ooh, made a bit of a mess of that. So stitch the front neck facing and back neck facing sections together at shoulders. Finish unnotched edge. Finish unnotched edge. Finish unnotched edge. Where's the notched edge? That's the notched edge. That the notched edge? Where's my bit? Where's your cotton picking minute? Where's my bit? 8. Right. So yeah, that is a notch there. Just stick that back on. I thought it was, but I think when I put the interfacing on, it's covered it up. There's definitely a notch there. Then there's a triangle there. Ooh, and before I forget, what about this? What about this? This was the dots that I had to put on, like the circles, the ones I marked out with my punch. How close are they to each other? And those ones. And the same on the other side. Those ones aren't brilliant. But look at them. I love it when a plan comes together. And this little 3-dot thing is obviously... I've dropped my pattern piece. Wait a minute. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Oh, wait a minute. Right. 2 seconds. Oh, come here. God. I can't. Hello. Couldn't feel whether I was picking it up or not. So if I stick that back on there like that, I don't think I have the... No, I don't. I don't have the dots drawn on the other side either. So take those up there. This is your pattern piece 8, and I'm just going to put those on here because I think they match up with the 3 dots on there. I'm guessing since they're the only 2 3-dotted things on the whole pattern. That's just a wild guess. Got the notch there. There's a little notch which I've actually already cut in. So we just won't do that again. And there is a notch cut in there. Right. So I don't know what it means by finish the unnotched edge. I'm assuming it means all the way around here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to overlock all the way around the outside. Do you know, I might even overlock the inside as well. I'll have another look at the pattern, and I'm going to stay stitch the neckline. And because I don't think you've actually seen me sewing in this so long yet, so I'll stay stitch this while I'm chatting to you. So the men have gone off to the match, so I've got the house to myself, which is my ideal really. It means I can film my vlog without getting sort of completely interrupted, and you know, getting rung to see, do I want a pint of milk, etc, etc. So yeah, so it's my youngest son Thomas and his dad have gone to the match, and they are going to be there till probably, I think he said they could be there till about 11 o'clock tonight, because it's the final game of the season. And if they the worst they could do is draw. If they draw or they win, then they go with the Champions League or something. I really should pay more attention, shouldn't I? Yeah, so they go with the Champions League. So they said the celebrations might go on for a while in the ground. So great, just gives me more time to do this. Slow that down a minute. There we go. I usually do stay stitch things, I have to be honest. I've watched so many vlogs where people have said, oh, you must do it, don't miss it out, it's a very important piece. But because this isn't particularly stretchy, I don't know if it counts as much. Also, can you hear the noise of this flipping walking foot? I mean, it's done that since I put it in, and I think the last time I used it as well, I was a bit concerned about the noise it was making. So, yeah, does anybody know if that's normal? If I you know, is it meant to make this much noise? It's not a particularly quiet machine, this. It's, oh, come on. Come on. Doesn't like just sewing one layer of it, that's for sure. Doesn't feed it through at all. Yeah, it's never been a really quiet machine. It's quieter than the one I used to have, which I got second hand, which was it was a Janome. It was a good machine. It was just very old, and it was certainly quieter than that. But it's not. It's, you hear some people sewing on YouTube, and the machines are so quiet. But this is particularly clunky, this walking foot. Because I'm trying to sew quite near the edge, it's only got one of the feed dogs at this side pulling the material through, and that's why it doesn't really like it. And actually, I should do it, you know, I should, because you're going down to a point there. I really should have actually, yeah, I shouldn't have sewn that as far as that. Too busy bloody yakking, that's the problem. Too busy yakking. I'll just take a couple of stitches out. If I could see them, obviously that would help. Anyway, I'll take these out. We'll sew up the other side. And yeah, they're just stay stitches, they don't have to be perfect, do they? Or do they? Answers on a postcard. Let's have a look. Get that under there. Right, so I'll finish this. You've seen me sewing, so you know that's what I do. I'm going to take that to there and start there. That's right, like that. So I'll finish this and I'll stitch the neckband like it says to do on there, and I'll attach it to where I'm supposed to attach it to, and I'll be back. Hello. Well, I've done it. I've done a massive Carerism. Oh dear, you're wobbling. Try not to make you feel too sick. See if I can get you a bit lower. Ooh. Look at the plight of this. Right. So matched me V of me neck, matched me notches on the shoulders, my 3 red dots both sides. The neck at the front's gone in absolutely spot on. The notches have matched, the V's matched. Look at this on the back. I've measured it. I've got 16 centimetres there. I've got 24 on the back. How? I mean, there's ease and there's ease, but come on, that's not ease. So I've been having a think, and I think the only way I can do it is cut another bit of back neck facing and the back neck piece, and make it longer. And I'll make it longer by 8 centimetres. The only thing I can think of is that with the seams here, there's 2 seams to each shoulder bit. Although I did do 1.5 centimetres there, I've only done, I think, 1 centimetre here. So, well, there's 1 centimetre, but it's not 8 centimetres difference. So I really don't know what I've done. So that's what I'm going to do, folks. I am going to cut another bit of this facing. I'm going to take this out of here. I'm going to detach it from the front bit of facing where I've just stitched it. I did just finish off one edge, because then I stupidly realised finishing off both edges was a waste of time, because you were going to finish this off when you've actually sewed it around the neckline. So I had just done the one edge, thankfully, because otherwise, you know, I'd be unpicking even more. So that's what I'm going to do. So, and it's, well, it's 8:45 at night now, and I don't know if I've got the energy, to be quite honest. I don't know whether I should just leave it till tomorrow. It could be that I might end up making a bigger mess than I already have. What I could do, I suppose, is just put a piece in. That would be easier, wouldn't it? I'm gonna have to do it, because yeah, I'm giving up the will to live, and I think if it's done now. Dun, dun, dun. It's done. So I might actually, I'm going to pin this into the neck and see how much I've got to add a couple of centimetres, attach 1 centimetre each side, and measure it out. So I'll crack on, do that, and possibly come back to you tomorrow. I think there's a glass of wine calling me now, or a very large gin. Against my better judgment. Should have gone and had my glass of wine. I had a bit of chocolate instead. I thought, oh, just get it done. I've literally got the hem to do after this, and then it's all done. So I thought, yeah, I'll do it. So I've put the piece in. It was 11 centimetres. Please tell me, people. Do you get 11 centimetres of ease on a neckline? I don't know what I've done wrong. But anyway, I mean, please don't look at the state of this. But there it is there. There's the inside. There's the outside. There's my piece I've put in the middle. Went to put the interfacing on it. And it's now stuck to the iron. So I've managed to stick another piece to it, but it's stuck to me big iron, me good iron, not me little sewing iron that I should have used. Yeah, it's stuck all over me good iron. Don't know what I did wrong. Set it the way I normally set it. I must have had it too hot or something, but there we go. It's, yeah, I've ruined my iron in the process, but hey ho, I've nearly finished my blouse. So I think it's a case of stitching around here, understitching it, or understitch facing as far as possible, it says. Turn facing to inside and press. And then I definitely am stopping. I am not going to hem it tonight, because well, one, I need my iron to do that, and I've knacked it. I'll have to clean it. And if anybody knows what gets into facing off an iron, that might need to know that. Yeah, I'm gonna sew this, and I'm gonna call it a night. See you in the morning. Right, so here's my blouse finished. So see what I mean about the collar. It sits fine and lovely here, although I have got my bra straps pulled out the way a little bit. If I was to put them where they would normally be, there's either one or other, both of them going to show. So I'm going to be howking at them the whole time I'm wearing it. And then look at the back. Look at that. So I've had a look, and I think if I'm going to unpick it, well, I need brilliant light for one thing, because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. And I think I've stitched it so well that because I've overlocked everything and I've understitched it and stitched it down and top stitched it and done everything that they said to do. And because I've done that, I think by the time I unpick it, it's going to be a whole raggy mess. I might just keep it as a cover up for holiday, like over a costume, or something to wear on a night time if I'm like really hot and you just need something to cover you up if there's a bit of a breeze or whatever. But I love the sleeves. The sleeves, I think I can take the sleeves as a success. I quite like them. But you know, the packet did look like it was sort of nipped in. Well, there's no way this is nipped in. It's just straight up and down. And I do need the width to go around here anyway. I haven't hemmed it yet. I don't know if that would make a difference. If maybe I hemmed it and it was shorter or something. Would that look any better? I probably would, to be fair. It doesn't solve the problem with the neck, but actually I quite like that shorter length. That doesn't look as tent-like. But yeah, already I can see I'm fidgeting with my bra straps. So let me know what you think, what you think I should do, and what I should do about that. That's because I put the extra bit of material in, but then I had extra, I can get it to sit flat. No, I can't really. Say bra straps. Anyway, let me know what you think.